What's up guys, it's the Duke Ultimate here, and today I'm just going to be doing my Sliver EDH deck tech. This is an aggro Sliver build, mostly focused on just swarming the board and making your Slivers hard to deal with for your opponents. We're not playing Grave Mother or Rukaramel, so don't expect that here. Those cards are good if you build an entire deck around them, but I think strictly speaking for the majority of Sliver players and like the Sliver strategy of swarming the board, they're not as good. I think they're a bit slow. And so I've opted for something else. I'll just jump straight in. So our commander is going to be Sliver Overlord, a bit of a damaged copy I've got here, but you know, what do you do for the price? So pay 3 and you can search your library for a Sliver card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So tutors for any Sliver card, super valuable, helps you get out of any situation that you're going to find yourself stuck in. So we run him as our main commander. The other legendaries we are running the first Sliver. You can sub first Sliver in for your to be your commander. He has Cascade and makes Sliver spells you cast have Cascade as well. So really good card. Definitely consider running this as your commander. But yeah, I like to swap him in and out for a bit of fun. The only other legendary Sliver that I think is mandatory in the deck is Hive Lord. Giving all your Slivers indestructible is way too good. A lot of opponents can't deal with that, so we capitalize on that by playing Hive Lord and being able to search him with Overlord. All of these big Slivers are 5 mana 7/7s as well, which can be really difficult for your opponent to deal with, like just the body on their own. And we've got some cards in the deck that are going to help us get these out for really cheap, which I'll show you later on. Sliver Legion, $80 card in Australia right now. All Sliver creatures get +1/+1 for each other Sliver on the battlefield, so it's just a coat of arms. I wouldn't say that this card's mandatory. If you can play coat of arms, play coat of arms, and you don't want to spend the money on Legion. Legion's a better card, strictly speaking, just because it's searchable and the 7/7 body's super good. But coat of arms is like the cheap alternative. Lastly, we are playing Sliver Queen. Sliver Queen counts as a Sliver, wouldn't you know it, and then you can pay to put a Sliver token into play, and you treat that token as a 1/1 color Sliver. Not mandatory. Card's way too expensive for what it is. 7/7 body's cool, searchable's cool, but the payoff of creating the tokens really only gets you any benefit when you already have a bunch of other Slivers on the battlefield. So this is a win more card. Definitely not mandatory. You don't have to play this. Sub it for literally anything else you want. So those are our primary Slivers. Next we're moving on to the bulk of the deck. So these are all the Sliver creatures that we're playing in the deck. And again, most of these come from the pre-com. So we've got Mana with Sliver. So Slivers you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color. Good for early game ramp. 1/1 body's a bit average, but that's pretty much the theme with Slivers. So you deal with what you get. Next is Gemhide. It's the same as Mana Weft. Pulmonic. Not many people play Pulmonic, but it's a 3 generic 2 white for all Sliver creatures have flying, and then all Slivers have, if this permanent would be put into a graveyard, you can put it on top of its owner's library instead. This is good because board wipes suck. 3/3's pretty big for a Sliver as well, at least a non-legendary Sliver. And we're super vulnerable to board wipes in this deck, so having something like this just to get everything on top of the deck is really good. And flying is super broken most of the time against people at the LGS. Wing Sliver, all Sliver creatures have flying for 2, pretty good. And Gale Rider, Slivers have flying for 1, so strictly better than Winged. Then Cloud Shredder, the best flying Sliver, so red and white for Sliver creatures have flying and haste on a 1/1. Super good. This is usually one of the first cards that I search off Overlord, just because it's so cheap, and we built the mana base around being able to cast 5 colors. So yeah, definitely one of the first cards I search. Super good early game, super good late and middle game. It's a great card. Firewake. All Slivers have haste, and then Slivers have pay 1, sack this permanent, target Sliver creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. I never ever play it for this bottom effect. I only pretty much play it for the haste effect. It is a little bit more expensive, but it is a better cast than Blur Sliver, which we're not running in the deck because that's too expensive for a haste Sliver in terms of mana cost. So trying to keep the curve low. As low as we can, and so keeping low cost Slivers. Speaking of, we got Heart Sliver, the other cheaper haste Sliver. Again, we're not playing Blur, so Slivers are unaffected by Summoning Sickness. Great art too. Harmonic. So Harmonic is all Slivers have when this permanent enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is extremely good. And the only issue is when you have too many artifacts or enchantments on the board. We're not running many in this deck, just like to play for this, because this is a mandatory effect, so you will end up blowing up your own stuff. So if you can get this out later in the game, you're going to be better off than if you get it out early. Then we're running Constricting. So Sliver creatures have, when this creature enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. Really good for removal. Yeah, it just like really puts your opponents on notice, but it is 5 generic, 1 white, so a bit expensive. Necrotic. So all Slivers have pay 3, sack this permanent, destroy target permanent. Just really good for flexibility, being able to destroy any kind of permanent. Trouble is it does get rid of Slivers, but we do have methods to get more Slivers out. Like if you're using Queen, then you can just pay 2 for Sliver tokens, but we have other methods of getting Sliver tokens out. So then there's Sinew Sliver, so we're moving into the Slivers that buff. So Sliver creatures get +1/+1. Muscle is the same, Sliver creatures get +1/+1. And then Predatory, Sliver creatures you control get +1/+1. Megantic, Sliver creatures you control get +3/+3. Now I'm playing this over Might Sliver because I think paying 6 mana for a 6/6 is better than paying 5 mana for a 4/4. It does like make the curve slightly higher. Like the curve's like, you know, just under 3 mana here is the average mana cost for the deck. But I think this is strictly better than Might Sliver. So then moving on to the rest of the Slivers, we've got Crypt Sliver. So all Slivers have Regenerate, pretty good most of the time. So we like Regenerate, and it's cheap as for a 1/1. Clot Sliver, all Slivers have pay 2 to regenerate this permanent. So Crypt is tap to regenerate, and this is pay 2 to regenerate. So a bit different, same cost though. Virulent Sliver, all Slivers have Poisonous 1. This really, for 1 green, this is really good. It really puts your opponents on notice, and it makes them sweat a lot. Really good, especially when you have so many Slivers on the board. You give them Flying Haste Bang, it's a 1-turn kill if you've got enough Slivers. So great card. Venom Sliver, all Slivers you control have Death Touch, and this makes even your like 1/1 generic Slivers like scary to the opponent, and they're not going to want to attack you. Yeah, great card. Striking Sliver, all Slivers you control have First Strike. Early in the game, and for 1 red, it's so good. Early in the game, there are so many creatures on the board that are low cost, low mana curve, and so, low power and toughness, so you just run over them so easily with First Strike. Sliver creatures you control have Double Strike, is Bone Scythe Sliver. Not super great for 3 and a white, bit average. It's kind of a win more card, to be honest, I reckon, unless you are early game flying, and then yeah, you're just running over your opponents. Two-Headed Sliver, all Slivers have Menace. Pretty underrated card, you know, because you're going to end up swarming the board, so your opponent's going to run out of opportunities to block and creatures to block with. This doesn't get played as much as I think it should, especially for 1 generic, 1 red. It's pretty good. Then Horn Sliver, all Slivers gain Trample. Definitely a win more card, not mandatory, but the 2/2 base is nice. Sentinel Sliver, again, not played as much as I think it should be. All Slivers have Vigilance, is super useful because they're such small creatures and you're giving them Death Touch and the rest, so they end up being really valuable. Hatchery Sliver, so 1 generic, 1 green, replicate, so you get to copy Sliver spells as they come out if you pay their mana cost again, basically. Pretty good for swarming the board. And because it's such low cost, it's good early, but the problem is if you get it out early, you've made it vulnerable, and you're going to not have the mana to be able to cast a replicate cost for the things that you actually want to replicate. So you just have to kind of time this right. Lazotep Sliver, one of the new ones. So 3 generic, 1 black, Sliver creatures have Afflict 2, and whenever a non-token Sliver you control dies, amass Slivers 2. The Afflict 2 is why we're playing this. It's punishing for the opponent. And being able to amass is good too. It just gives you another Sliver body on the board. Then Diffusion Sliver, so it's just Ward 2. Just makes everything more annoying for your opponents when they target. But a lot of spells don't target, so you kind of got to pick your battles there. But usually it pays off. I like drawing this. I'll never search it. I like drawing this card. And then Synapse Sliver, whenever a Sliver deals combat damage to a player, its controller may draw a card. Card draw is good. But this is an expensive card, so Card draw is good. Shifting Sliver, my favorite Sliver in the deck. Slivers can't be blocked except by Slivers. Super annoying card. So we love to play this. One of the like mid-game searches that I'll go for if I don't draw into it. Hibernation Sliver. All Slivers have paid 2 life. Return this permanent to its owner's hand. Played a lot. Can pay off. It just depends on the situation. But I'm happy if I draw this. Don't usually search it out with Overlord. Dregscape, each Sliver creature in your graveyard has Unearthed 2. Again, and it itself has Unearthed 2. So we are super vulnerable to board wipes. Every Sliver deck is vulnerable to board wipes if you don't play it correctly. So having this option, we've got a couple of other graveyard options in the deck, which I'll show you later on. But just having this option, being able to search this out before you anticipate a board wipe or when you're reaching critical mass, just in case, is really important. Siphon Sliver creatures you control have lifelink. A bit of a win more, pretty good. And then Crystalline Sliver, all Slivers have Shroud, is super good for 1 white and a blue. Yeah, Sliver creatures have a Shroud for a 2/2 is super good. Moving on to our non-Sliver creatures. So we're playing Morophon the Boundless, makes all of your legendary Slivers free. It's a changeling. Sliver creatures get +1/+1. Super good card. Yeah, I reckon if you're playing Slivers, you need to play this card. Yeah, legendary Slivers for free is way too good. Then we've got Titan of Lijaricam in the pre-con. Some people have taken it out. I'm quite happy with it. So paying 6 for a 6/6. As it enters the battlefield, choose Slivers. It becomes 1, and then when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you can draw a card for each other card you control that shares a creature type with it. And then if you discard 1 card, so you draw 6 cards and discard 1, and you're usually going to have so many cards on the battlefield. It's insane. Like I've had like 25 Slivers on the battlefield before, and so that's pretty normal. So you're just going to be drawing a lot, just means you're discarding a lot, but you get options. Realm Walker, definitely a take it or leave it card. As it enters the battlefield, choose Slivers. You can look at the top card of your library at any time and cast Sliver spells from the top of your library. 100% take it or leave it, but I found that the higher toughness is good and it just gives a bit of flexibility. Yeah, again, totally take it or leave it, completely up to you. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, and then lands you control are every basic land type in addition to the other types. That is why we're playing this, because we're playing a 5-color deck, and being able to play land as if it were any color is extremely useful. So, yes, we like Dryad. So next, that's all of our creatures. Moving on to artifacts. So artifacts, we're playing the obligatory Sol Ring, Arcane Signet. Herald's Horn is good because we've got so many 2-drop Slivers that are like 1 generic and something else. So this just keeps our curve lower. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you can reveal it and put it into your hand. Just means we're getting more cards in our hand. We love card draw, and we're going to be able to ramp, get our Slivers onto the board a bit quicker. And it reduces the need for ramp. This card is amazing, Chromatic Orrery. Big cost, 7 generic, but you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. You can tap for 5 mana, and then pay 5 tap to draw a card for each color among permanents you control. Tap for 5 is what we want, and then spend mana as though it were any color is what we're playing this for. Because 5-color deck, you can get bricks sometimes. Pretty rarely though, it comes out pretty good, so it's just good to have the flexibility. But Chromatic Orrery, excellent card. Next we're moving to removal. Now I'm a huge fan of single target removal, so we've got a few single target removal cards here. Swords to Plowshares, exile target creature, its control against life equal to its power. Despark, exile target permanent with CMC 4 or greater. Mortify, destroy target creature enchantment. Terminate, destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. Vindicate, destroy target permanent, and then Dismember, target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. Now I'm playing these instead of things like Assassin's Trophy purely because of the lower cost, and I feel like there's less drawbacks to these cards than there is for like Assassin's Trophy. I just think that card can be a bit of a nuisance. It doesn't feel good when I play it, whereas these always seem to hit right, and we've got a good number of them in the deck. Moving on to a couple of miscellaneous instants and sorceries, giving us card draw. So we've got For the Ancestors. So choose a creature type, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You can reveal any number of cards of the chosen type from among them and put the revealed cards into your hands. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. So just gets us cards. 3 costs is pretty good. Ponder, look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. You can shuffle your library if you want and then draw a card. So it's draw a card for 1 blue, which is good. Ristic Study, make sure they never pay the 1. We need cards in hand all the time because if we get wiped, we are in trouble. So Ristic Study is good, puts your opponent under pressure, super annoying. And then Distant Melody, choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. Bit exy, but you get to draw cards, so we play that. Next are 2 cards that I couldn't really put into other categories. I wasn't really sure what to do with them. So number 1 is Reflections of Litjara. As it enters the battlefield, choose Slivers, and whenever you cast a Sliver, copy that spell. So it's just doubling everything that you're putting on the board. So a really important card for the deck. I would endeavor to get this. I'd say it's like pretty close to mandatory, but not mandatory. Something that definitely isn't mandatory is Effetto Dredging. So return up to 3 target creature cards of the creature type of your choice from your graveyard to your hand. So grab 3 Slivers for 4 mana. This is our board wipe survivability, and we're not playing Grave Mother, so we're not on the graveyard tactic. So when we tutor this out with a couple of tutors, which I'll show you in a sec, it'll just be really important, and it's like a really good thing to have in the back of your pocket for when things go awry. So happy with those 2. Next are our 2 strict tutors. So we're playing Worldly Tutor. So search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle it, put that card on top. And then Demonic Tutor, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle. So I'm playing Worldly over Vampiric purely for the lower cost. Just trying to keep the curve as low as possible. And putting a creature card on top of your library is completely fine. So Worldly and Demonic. Great cards get us whatever we want. And most of the time you'll be searching for creatures anyway, so Worldly doesn't have a drawback there. Next we've got ramp cards. So 3 visits, search your library for a forest, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. There are a few targets. And then Nature's Law, search your library for a forest, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Again, more than 1 target. Cultivate, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped. 1 into the battlefield tapped, and then 1 into your hand, then shuffle. And then Farseek, search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Yeah, so just getting ramp out. Then we're moving now into the land base itself. So starting off, I was kind of struggling on separating these into categories, but I guess I'm just going to call these like my grey lands. So got Ash Barrens. We're basically playing this for the land cycling. We don't care about the colourless unless we have a like an artifact, if we have Chromatic Orrery on the field. But we're playing this for the basic land cycling, just to kind of search for our land, thin the deck a bit. And it lets us search for whatever we want in terms of basic land. Terramorphic Expanse, so sack it, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Same deal. Evolving Wilds, sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So we're just thinning the deck. Next, I am playing the Alara Tri-lands, so I'm playing all of them. So Arcane Sanctum, Sandstep Citadel, Crumbling Acropolis, Mystic Monastery, Opulent Palace, Savage Lands, Jungle Shrine, Nomad Outpost, Seaside Citadel, and Frontier Bivouac. So yeah, the Alara Tri-lands, big fan of those. Now, they are slow, so a lot of people don't play them because they are strictly tap lands. They enter the battlefield tapped. But the flexibility that the Tri-lands offer, I think, outweighs the slowness. So at the beginning of the game, you draw 3 Tri-lands, you're sick, no worries. They're going to be entering the battlefield tapped anyway. You're probably not going to be holding too much that's low cost. And we've got other lands in the deck to kind of deal with the slowness a bit. But so I am playing all the Alara Tri-lands. Most of them come in the pre-con anyway, so I just picked up the last couple. And the flexibility, I think, is worth it for how slow they can be. To counteract the slowness, we're playing some other lands. So playing all of the Ravnica dual lands. So we've got Godless Shrine, Orzhov Land, Hallowed Fountain, Azorius, Watery Grave, Dimir, Steam Vents, Izzet, Overgrown Tomb, Golgari, Blood Crypt is Rakdos, Stomping Ground for Gruul, Sacred Foundry for Boros, Temple Garden for Selesnya, and then Breeding Pool for Simic. Now, the good thing about these cards is as they enter the battlefield, you can pay 2 life, and if you don't, they enter the battlefield tapped. So they can enter untapped if you would like them to. So that flexibility is really important for the deck. These are a little bit expensive, at least here in Australia. So if you can't afford them, honestly, just play basic lands. I wouldn't advise playing too many shock lands or fetch lands. The fetch lands that come with the deck are not good at all. That come with the Sliver Precon. They're not good at all. I wouldn't recommend that. So definitely upgrade the land base a bit. But yeah, so having them being able to come in tapped or not is just good flexibility. But we don't want to wither down our life total too much. As far as basic lands, we're playing five. We're just playing 1 plains, 1 island, 1 swamp, 1 mountain, 1 forest. So we're basically just playing them as targets for our ramp spells and drawing them, because I don't want to draw these. I want to draw my tries, or I want to draw my dual lands just for the flexibility of them. These can be honestly a nuisance, so I'm only playing 1 of each as targets for deck thinning. Then last in the actual main deck are our kind of like miscellaneous lands, yellow lands, whatever you want to call them. So obligatory command tower, 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, so that's 1 of any color. Exotic orchard, 1 mana of any color that an opponent controls could produce. Sweet, works for us. Sliver hive, the sliver land, so you can tap to add 1 colorless, or you can tap to add 1 mana of any color and use it to cast a sliver spell, or you can pay 5 tap it to put a 1/1 colorless sliver creature token onto the battlefield, but you can only activate it if you control a sliver. You can't play a sliver deck without it, but you don't need to play it in every sliver deck. I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about this card. Yeah, I play it because I've got it. Not mandatory. Yeah, paying 5 for the sliver token is just too much. But it's better than paying $400 for the Sliver Queen. Secluded Courtyard, as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Tap to add a colorless, or tap to add 1 mana of any color, spend that mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, or activate the ability of a creature or creature card of the chosen type. So, it's just flexibility. These are like 5 color lands. Unclaimed Territory, choose a creature type, spend any color for the creature type. Cavernous Souls. So, you can tap to add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and it can't be countered. Notice we're not playing... I think it's Root Sliver that stops things from being countered, because I personally don't play against a lot of blue decks that counterspell me all the time, so I don't think it's necessary. So Cavern of Souls gets you a bit of flex there. Ancient Ziggurat, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, spend it only to play a creature spell. That's fine, because most of the deck is creature spells. And then Path of Ancestry lets you scry 1, tap for mana of any color that enters the battlefield tapped, which is unfortunate. The very last part of this video is just going to be showing the tokens that we're playing. So we've got Sliver Army tokens, only 1 of those that you need, and then 1/1 colorless slivers. And then the precon comes with the Monarch token, but we're not playing Regal Sliver, so nothing special there. And then the rest are all just copy tokens, which you're going to need when you swarm the board with copies, which is going to happen. So that is the end of the deck. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, this is kind of like my take on slivers, and I feel like there isn't much content out there in terms of like sliver deck techs, especially for EDH. There's a lot of modern and pioneer slivers, so yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions for me, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get to them when I can. And if you have any additions that you want to add, any cards that you think are kind of mandatory that I haven't put in there, I'd appreciate letting me know. But I've done a lot of testing with this, and I'm pretty pleased. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.